Hi everyone, it's Tammy from Willow and Violet, and I wanted to share a journal I almost didn't finish. I designed this journal to highlight my Fruits of Our Labor digital download, but after creating the cover, which I love, and putting together 3 signatures, I began to second guess myself. In fact, I set aside the journal for months while I dealt with a combination of analysis paralysis and imposter syndrome. Ultimately, I decided that the 2 major problems with the journal were that it needed to be 4 slimmer signatures rather than the 3 very chunky ones I had started with. It also needed to do a better job of incorporating my Fruits of Our Labor digital download. These are fixable, but they won't be the only mistakes I made. The first step to getting back on track was to remove the pages that weren't on theme. Don't worry, I'll find a new home for them somewhere else. Some pages I pulled from the chunky signatures will be used in my new additional signature. Next, I printed out a few more pages from Fruits of Our Labor and began planning the 4th signature, confirming that the spine was definitely wide enough for 4. I also trimmed my pages to fit and began arranging the new pages. Next, I rounded the corners and inked the edges. When creating journals, I pay a lot of attention to layering pages, so the edges work well together both within the signature and through the entire book. I also like to make sure there's a good mix of paper colors and types, and that any chunky pockets and other additions aren't sitting on top of each other, creating oversized lumps on the pages. Oops, here's another mistake. Because I relocated pages from other signatures, I quickly found that they were too wide for their locations within the new signature. Pages near the center of a signature need to be a bit shorter than those on the outside of a signature because the fold and seam pushes them forward. I trimmed down this music page with my decal edge trimmer. This laced edge tea stain page is now too wide as well, but luckily I have a narrow version that I had trimmed at the fold and put together with washi tape. This is a great trick for cutting down pages when you can't cut down the outside edges. Again, I checked the edges across the whole journal and made one last trim, carefully since this page has a horizontal lace belly band. Now that all 4 signatures are set, I started reviewing each one for places to add more of the ephemera for my kit. Remember, one of my main goals was to reinforce the fruit theme throughout this book. I decided to make a floating pocket from my digital kit, but a big mistake that didn't make this video edit was the fact that I cut the paper wrong on my first try and it went directly into the scrap pile. So here's take 2. These floating pockets are a great addition to any journal. I learned how to make them from Raven Vintage's 100 Ways to Use Scrap series, which I'll link in the description. You make a vertical tube by gluing the page to a gusset. Oops, I almost made another mistake. Add your thumb notches before gluing everything together. Fold the bottom half up, ink the edges, glue the fold, creating a third pocket, and add it to your journal with a paper clip or in a belly band or even in a pocket. On the next blank area, I used my Digital's bookmark belly band printout. I also pulled some journal cards from the kit to embellish the belly band. The fun part about Digitals is that you can use them however you want without fear of wasting the paper. You can always just print a new page. Here I'm using a circle punch to cut out some interesting parts of the images. After inking everything, I added the circles to each end for a bit of visual interest. Next, I reviewed the other signatures to see if there were any more areas that needed additional decoration. This signature was already nicely embellished, but the new signature had space for more. I glued down a lace applique cut out of a larger piece of fabric to create an unconventional pocket that coordinates with the journal's red cover. I inked the edges of 2 journal cards, added a ticket from the kit to act as a pull tab, and stamped lines on the back of these cards for journaling space. I've included these trifold tags throughout the journal. I demonstrated, poorly if I remember, how to make these in another video that I'll link in the description. Uh-oh, here's another mistake. A small one this time. I tear at the corner of this blueberry dyed paper. Luckily, my faux aged cellophane tape is perfect for hiding things like this. Next, I created another floating pocket. And attached a second belly band with circle embellishments. Now our 4 signatures are ready for binding. To get the binding measurements just right, I printed out Raven Vintage's free signature hole alignment template. You can find it on her Ko-fi page. Check out her channel to find the link. First, I made small holes with my awl before getting out the crocodile. After making holes, it was time to pick the right waxed thread color. Oh no, get ready for my biggest mistake yet. But first, look how carefully I'm aligning my pages, taking out any ephemera that's in the way, and making sure everything is carefully lined up. I used the template to get the holes just right. Pro tip, folding your signature while you punch the holes in the papers helps make sure the holes are centered within the fold. Do you see the problem I made yet? After carefully sewing in the signature with a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, the issue comes to light. This whole signature was sewn in upside down. Ugh, what a pain. But the good thing is, like most junk journal mistakes, this is completely fixable. Just snip, snip, and try again. After fixing that mistake, I proceeded to sew in all 4 signatures, right side up this time. But don't worry, that's not the last mistake I made. Ugh, this journal is so cute. Chonky, but not too chunky. 4 signatures was definitely the right way to go. Time to put the ephemera back inside and do a final flip through. Here we are, 4 signatures, beautiful decoupaged cover, and a bright red spine. Uh-oh, here's a problem. The envelope side handmade from the digital download are sewn in so close to the spine it's impossible to get the journal cards out. There's an envelope in each of the signatures, so this is a bit of a bummer. Luckily, it was fairly easy to trim down the top of each envelope without removing the signatures, so here's the full flip through. Luckily, it was fairly easy to trim down the top of each envelope without removing the signatures, so here's the full flip through. I can't believe I let this journal sit ignored for so long. Ultimately, I'm really pleased with how it turned out, and it's now available on my Etsy shop. The moral of the story is this: mistakes happen. Sometimes they happen a lot, but they're all fixable, even if it means just starting over. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.